Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Minister J. So check this out. It's a conversation, man, that I really believe that we need to have, man. This is a really, I believe it to be an important conversation, and I'm going to show you why here in just a moment. So you probably have heard by now, and if you haven't, there's this movie coming out. I believe it's this weekend, and it's called His Only Son. Um, Pretty good premise. I won't pretend like I know all the details of the movie, but let me tell you what I do know. So, if I understand correctly, it's made by Angel Studios. Now, these are the same people who made the Chosen series, and I know that there's been some controversy about the Chosen series. I don't want to touch on that because I believe that there's some significance to that, but that really is not what this a video was about. That's not really what I'm here to talk about. The part that I'm here to talk about, though, because actually I've heard a lot of good things, and I think I've seen part of an episode or two of The Chosen. But it's not something that I've really made my way to really watch just yet. I probably will eventually because I am curious. I was somebody who loved the Bible series. And I think, is it Son of God? Is that the one that they did after that? I haven't really watched that, but I definitely did love the Bible series. I watched it. I've watched it through like 2 or 3 times, but it's been a little while now since I watched it. So if I watched it now, it would probably seem brand new. I loved the Passion of the Christ. I kind of have some love for like the Ten Commandments. I don't have an issue with movies that depict, Christianity and things of that nature. I liked Left Behind, the one with Nicolas Cage, but also the original one. Even though I'll admit, what you never want to do is you don't want to watch the Nicolas Cage version, not having seen the original one, and then go and watch the original one. That's going to be tough. But all in all, still, my point is I don't really have an issue with the genre or even arguably the quality of the movies. There's another movie that I really love called Encounter. If you've never seen it, it's a pretty good movie. You should see it. But the thing that I'm curious about is, and it, from the time that I first saw it announced, it bothered me, honestly, because the movie's name is His Only Son. Now, you say whatever you want to say. I had never heard about the movie yet. All right, so you maybe because I think, if I understand it right, it might have been also crowdfunded or fan funded, whatever you want to call it, like The Chosen was. So maybe people had a better understanding and an indication than what I did. But when I saw it, His Only Son is coming out in Easter, just before, in April, just before Easter. I'm thinking to myself, okay, so this is going to be about Jesus. Only to watch the previews, I'm like, this is about Abraham and Isaac. And it honestly, it's like, it didn't even take me a second. I was, in a sense, I was disappointed, but then I got confused. I'm like, I don't understand. It's not that I'm extremely interested in seeing the story. But then I began to wonder, I'm like, why would they make, what I'm saying, a movie? I can't be the only person that's thought this. I started not to do it, and I don't know if I should say this or not, but, I saw it posted on social media, an ad for it. And I went ahead and I commented, and I said, why at Easter or Resurrection Sunday would you go and make a movie about Abraham and his only son, or call His Only Son about Abraham, Isaac, and Sarah, instead of a movie referencing His Only Son that this time of year is about? And I'm kind of adding a few words here, but of course, God, Joseph, Mary, Jesus. And I've actually gotten, I think, 2 responses. They're terrible responses, and it's not me knocking any person, because realistically, I wanted, if there was going to be a response I got, I would have preferred it came from the actual makers or some sort of representative. And I get that you may not get that, but I was curious. I didn't necessarily, I wouldn't mind getting responses from people, but I'm less concerned with people's opinion of why. but I will say this. I would kind of like it to be a thing where it's like, let's really think about what's going on here and why this is happening. What would be the logic? Again, the story of Abraham is great. He's known as the father of faith. If you've been in church for any time, he's known as the father of faith, and that kind of thing. So it's a little, it's like, it's cool, but the question is, we getting ready to come into the Easter season. I mean, we're really in it already technically because we're in Lent. But why would you make a movie, His Only Son, about Abraham and Isaac? It just doesn't make any sense. Now, this is where it gets interesting. On the one hand, I'm the guy who will say, always ask questions. But I'm also the guy that understands that you can ask sometimes too many questions. And I'm also the guy that understands that there is definitely a such thing as a wrong question. I know that because there's a such thing as a right question, but also because I've asked the wrong question before. But there's a right question here that needs to be asked. And what that question is, why? Why? And why now? So there's only really one thing that I could come up with. And that came to my mind. And what it was, again, you may or you may not have heard of this. I'm not going to go into all the details of this right here, right now, today, because that'll make this video super long. But the thing is, you might have heard of this thing called, well, I won't say what it's called. I'll explain it this way. So the Pope got together with, I think, like the granny mom of the Islamic faith, and I think I want to say it's in Abu Dhabi. Is it in Abu Dhabi? I think it's in Abu Dhabi. They created this Abrahamic house, is what they're calling it, and I'll try to put some details if I can remember in the details of the video. But basically, they built a Jewish temple, a Islamic mosque, and a Christian church. And I'm saying a Christian church because, and I realize that this is one of those things that is a little controversial, but, it would be much more accurate to call it a Catholic church. I get that there's some people who will be like, well, Catholics are Christians. I'm just going to be frank with you. If you're going to tell me that a Catholic is a Christian, then you need to show me where in the Bible it says that we should be praying to saints and to Mary. I mean, zero disrespect to any of, the people who are Catholics. You know what I mean? But it's the truth. It's like, why are you praying to Mary? Why, or as they like to say, why are you asking Mary to pray on your behalf to Jesus or to carry the prayer to Jesus? Why are you doing that? You know what I mean? And that's super important. You know what I mean, to think about. But the worst part is, and again, I'm not going to go into all the details here, but I've come to find out that in this place where this Abrahamic house was built, they can't say the name Jesus, and it's actually against the law to try to convert somebody to Christianity. It's really the absolute craziest thing that I've ever heard, and that kind of thing. But I'm going to go into details of that more at a later point. But so there was this thing last year called the Abraham Accords, and that's kind of the thing that spearheaded this whole deal with this Abrahamic house. I think it's like the Abrahamic House of Worship or something like that is what they call it. I can't remember the exact name, but that's where we are. Is that there's been an attempt made to try to pull us together, and I'm going to go on ahead and say it again. I'll get more into details later, but they're trying to pull us together through our, what's it say, our common ancestor, which would be Abraham, right? Because Judaism, Islam, and Christianity as a whole, they all agree on Abraham. You know what I mean? And there's much biblical, proof and truth for that. Of course, the variance comes after the Torah for the Jews, and for the Christians, or for the Islamics, the Muslims. It comes, really through Ishmael's birth, that they were even created, and as such, kind of exist, and that whole thing is a whole nother conversation. And then, of course, Christianity, we believe in Jesus. Now, of course, Islamic people will tell you that they believe in Jesus, and Jesus is referenced and he's referred to as a prophet, but they don't believe in his deity, or that he is God's only son, that he came through a virgin birth, or any of those things. If I'm correct, I don't think that they believe that he resurrected or any of those things. So as you can see, if you want to call them religions, these religions are not compatible. And when you throw into the mix the variants of Catholicism, again, who pray to Mary, and who prays to the saints, and they revere and venerate Mary and other saints, this is when you just have a mixture that is not a good one. You know what I mean? So it's just something to consider, something to think about. Maybe take a look when you get a chance. I'm definitely going to try to come back and do a part 2 to this, and I'm going to get a little bit more into details about this thing, because it really is crazy, and I couldn't believe it when I heard it. But from the moment that I heard it, I'm like, something is not right about this. And sure enough, God is, really kind of opened my eyes and allowed me to see some things prior. And so that's kind of where we are. Listen, I know we're coming into Resurrection Sunday. I just pray the power of God in your life, and that it's an awesome experience for you, and that we remember, what he did for us on the cross all those years ago. You know what I mean? And if you're watching this video and maybe you don't know Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, really it's easy. All you have to do is confess with your mouth and believe in your heart, that Jesus Christ is Lord, and you're saved. The Bible makes it pretty plain. That's found in Romans 10th chapter and the 9th verse. You know what I mean? So, just something to consider. You know what I mean? All you got to do is literally just say, Jesus, I believe that you are the Son of God, and that kind of thing, and ask him to come into your heart and to be the Lord of your life. And just like that, you're saved. So anyway, I don't want to make this long. I didn't want to make this long, but it's definitely something that needs to be talked about. I don't see anybody talking about it. And definitely, it's something that we definitely got to make sure that people understand what's going on. So again, God bless you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for coming by and watching the video. Peace.